Okay, guys. So, in this marathon session, we are going to cover almost 8 to 9 series of products. Okay, all premium make. So, this is our main product, which is heavy industry product, which are used almost everywhere in heavy applications. Okay, till now you learned about the geared motor series and all, but this is the big gearbox. We called it the gear train. These are all helical gearboxes, and now we will study about 8 to 9 different series of helical gearboxes based on their applications. Okay, these are the images I've searched on Google. You can just see of different makes. Here, this one is like of Helicon make. This one is of local make, Agni make. Okay, now there are so many local manufacturers as well. This one is the premium make. So it depends from brand to brand, but none of them have one-to-one mounting. So basically, the mounting arrangements of each and every brand is different. So it's about you how well you convince the client to use your product. Okay, there are some jackpot customers, like you have a customer who buys 20 of these every month. So that's the target market which we're going to cover in the OEM sectors. Okay, so this is the list of the catalog which we are going to cover in this session. Just let me uh, point out each and every industry which we will be covering today. First of all, we'll be covering is paper mills, steel plants, that are the rolling mills. Okay, steel plant rolling mills, they are known as. Then we'll cover the rubber mills, sugar mills. Apart from these mills, the other sector which we'll cover is cement plants, then power plants. Then we have some material handling units in each of above. Okay, so mainly the transfer of raw material and the finished goods from one place to another. These are all continuous uh, cycle plants. None of the plants are like not continuous duty. Okay. Apart from this, some special applications we will learn today are aerators. These aerators are basically used in effluent treatment. Okay. So bigger captive power plants and steel plants, they have their own effluent treatment plants which require aerators, and they also require cooling towers. So cooling tower application. There are various types of cooling towers. So almost 3 to 4 types of cooling towers require our type of gearboxes. So we will discuss that as well. Apart from that, we'll discuss extruders. Extruders are basically extrusion machines. Extrusion machines are of plastics and rubber. So we'll discuss how extrusion takes place and how our gearbox is the key to it. Then we'll also discuss one more thing, that is um, transmission at 90 degree. So in 90-degree transmission, what model we can offer, because some applications are such you don't need to reduce speed or you don't need torque, but you need to transfer the power at a right angle, or you might need to combine a combination, for lifting application like that. So we'll discuss these in details. You can just note down this. These are all very important industries, and these are the main source of value and volume for your business. So helical gearboxes is the key to everything. So I have taken this session at the end because this is something which you should learn and understand application wise, competitor wise, product wise, and even price wise. what to offer, what not to offer, and where do we stand. Okay, so we'll discuss all these points in this session. Okay, so this session might go on for at least an hour. So let us start with the basics. First of all, as you all remember in geared motor section, what is a helical gearbox? So I'll just show you one train. Okay, that's called a gear train. So as you can see in these images, let me just point out image of a premium open gearbox if possible. So that would be an easier one for you. Okay. Mm. See, as you can see in this image, this is the input shaft and this is at 90 degrees. That's why this one is bevel. It's a bevel pair and input. Bevel pair. This is the first stage. After that, so actually it is a second stage because one pair is the bevel pair. This is the second stage. This is the third stage. This is the fourth stage. So it's a four-stage gearbox. And as you can see, the pinion and the wheel arrangement similar to that of the geared motors, but in a bigger form. So this whole gear train is known as a helical gearbox, and each stage adds around 5:1 ratio. Okay, so this is a four-stage gearbox, so ratio is set accordingly. Okay, let me show you one another cut section to be more clear of any parallel helical if possible. Yeah, this one is parallel helical. See, this is also premium make. So this is the input shaft pinion, pinion with wheel, wheel with same shaft, another pinion. This wheel is actually a separate entity. So the pinions, one, two, three shafts of pinion and one output shaft. So these three pinion shafts are hardened and ground. And this wheel, one wheel, second wheel, third wheel are separate, which are hollow and they are fitted, shrink fit or heated and fitted on these shafts. Similarly, these bearings are also heated and fitted on each of these shafts. So they do not come out easily. They are like fitted using an induction heater, and these are heated using an induction furnace. Okay, so these are the end covers. This is the base. This is the line for the coils. As you can see, the lines, there are some cooling coils given. So these coils are not for passing water, they are for passing oil. So lubrication takes place in each and every part. This, what do you call, the line of passing of the oil piping is not available in each every gearbox. It is done on request. Otherwise, the wheels oil is filled till some level that these wheels will splash the oil while rotating. Okay, so that is how the normal lubrication takes place. Now, if you see another image, this is a local gearbox. So this is one stage, this is second stage, output is double, input is double. So it's a DIOS, double input, double output. Normally it is one input, one output like this. And this is mostly used in crane or hoist application where you require the other end for putting the brake. Okay, and this will help around um, rotating the drum on both sides. Okay, so this is used there. So that is one of the applications. Okay, another I can show you is this one. This one is an image of a Brevani gearbox. Brevani is a European brand. Similarly, like this one is of Elecon make. This blue color is basically for the Eon series of Elecon. This image is of Shanti, but Bajrang Engineering has used it. But Shanti gears are like this. The color of the gearbox may vary because they keep on changing. Shanti normally now use dark gray color. Premium uses the light blue color like the Indian color. See this one, the DK gears photo. This is more like a Shanti gearbox color. Okay, these gearboxes also we will study today. These are extruder gearboxes. As you can see, the output is designed a bit special with an external thrust bearing housing installed in the gearbox. Why? For what application? This we will study when the time arrives. See, this image is of local or Chinese make helical gearboxes. So there is similar design as to Shanti gears. ऐसा दिखता है. So from image also you can make out. See here, if the output input shaft is here in this line, so it's 1, 2, 3 stage. If it is here in this line, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 stage. Okay. In this image, 1, 2, so 2 stage. This is one bevel stage, second, third, 3 stage bevel helical gearbox. Okay. So now you know how to name this. This one is more or like a premium design Agni, which might be maybe some local make. So 1, 2. So this is B2, 2 stage. They have named it premium here. Okay. Then this you can see it's a bevel gearbox, but it is vertical upward, not sideways. So these gearboxes are not only horizontal, they are also vertical. And this gearbox particularly shown in the image is a cooling tower gearbox. So cooling tower application also we will study today. So I'm just briefing you about all the products which we will be studying today. See, premium cooling tower gearbox. This is very uh, precise image and cut section which we'll see in detail later on. There are very various applications. So let's get to the basics. Let's start. We have to start from somewhere, right? So this is the blue catalog, which is the first catalog you need to learn. That is named as helical gear units. So helical gear units are basically the standard units which we sell, almost 500 numbers in stock at any time, and whatever size ratio you need, we have something workable in stock. As you see another cut section view, this is the first input pinion wheel, second pinion, second wheel. So it's a two stage, but as you can see, it's not horizontal. It's a vertical gearbox. Its mounting is perpendicular to the ground, not parallel to the ground. So this is basically model. We can name it as two stage. So it is vertical. So VH2. As you remember, what's the naming platform? It is type, size, ratio, and mounting. Okay, so type here it is vertical two stage. So VH2. Okay, input solid, output solid. So nothing to add. Size. Suppose it's a 250 size gearbox. So 250. Ratio, suppose it is 30:1. Exactly, suppose 28.4 to 28.4. Mounting, it is vertical and there are a certain position like in worm gearbox it was left and right, and in this case it is P1, P2, P3, P4. Suppose P1. That is your whole naming. So now how you might be wondering where these parts come in. So let us take an example to make you understand the models selection, everything of a helical gearbox. These are the standard helical gearbox. If you get an inquiry of any helical gearbox in heavy duty, the first and only catalog which you will be opening is this one. Okay. So as we move towards the selection part and the nomenclature. Okay, see this is the naming. H1, H2, VH2, H3, VH3, H4. So four stage till four stage there are there. Then you have the right angle gearboxes. These are known as bevel helical gearboxes. In this gearbox, suppose the output is hollow. You can even get an output hollow. Normally it is solid. Hollow is very rarely used, but if you require hollow, then it will be named as, suppose this one is bevel, so B. Then this is first stage and second stage. So total three stages. So it is B3, but output hollow. So SF. SF is for shaft mounted. Okay, so name is B3SF. Okay. So here all the naming is given over here. These namings are required depending on the selection criteria. That is what application is, how the mounting is going to be. Okay, so that is one important parameter you need to remember while selection. we'll come to that as soon as we move on to the catalog. What accessories are there, that too. Okay, so basically, let us take the first page. Selection. Okay. See here, H1 is the first one. That is a single stage parallel helical gearbox. So normally the ratio ranges from 1.22 to 5.06. Okay, these are all H1. The next page, as you see, is H2. So here the selection is basically based normally, as you know, for any gearbox selection, what is required? One is motor power, that is HP or kilowatt, the RPM of the motor and output RPM of the gearbox, the torque. If torque is given, then you don't need the kilowatt, and if kilowatt is given, you don't need the torque, because we have a formula to convert kilowatt into required torque. Okay, and application, because we need to know the mounting. So now here, suppose for example, it's given, it's a horizontal application for paper mill. Okay, so you haven't seen a paper mill before, then let me just get you an image of what a paper mill is, how the gearboxes are lined up. Okay, see, generally in paper mill, the drive is these are all non-standard. Let me show you the standard ones. It should be a sectional drive. Okay, sectional drive. Sectional drive gearboxes. Yeah, so these are perfect. Sectional drive gearboxes are basically each and every roll of a paper mill has a separate drive. Okay, so they don't need any connection between each gearboxes. Each roll has a separate motor and each roll has a separate gearbox. So any such image I can show you once I get there. Oh yes, I'll just show you from one of my clients. Let us say DS. Is one of the biggest OEMs here. So that site will definitely have an image of gearbox mounted. See here the gearbox. Yeah, these rolls. So each roll on the other side is driven by a gearbox. So each gearbox is connected using a motor. Okay, so that motor itself, the sizing of the motor, the sizing of the gearbox is done model to model, and that is to be followed throughout each and every application. So these all rolls are rotated using those drives. So paper mills, these are the sectional drives, which almost like 2 to 3 rolls have the same gearbox rotating them. Not like the whole mill runs on single motor. They have individual motors, and that helps. That's the new way it works. That's called a sectional drive. It's not a line shaft. A line shaft is a single drive shaft which is connected throughout the paper mill. Okay, so that is not how it works nowadays. Then let us come back, like if the requirement, like I have an example. Okay, paper mills are generally very high speed, ratios are very low. Mostly the ratios are between 4 to 15 or maybe 20 at least, not more than that. So like for 4, if it is inquiry of 100 HP and 300 RPM, okay, that is required, and it's a paper mill application. Okay, so paper mill basically high speed are the dryers. So they will tell you it's a dryer application. Okay, so in dryer application, let us do the selection first for 4:1 ratio or 5:1, like 300 RPM, where you can see at these are the different motor speeds. So each motor speed, you have to check first that the motor speed is 1440, that is normal 4-pole, or it is a 6-pole. Suppose it is a 4-pole motor. There are in paper mills 6-pole motors are also used, so you need to be very clear before you start the selection. Okay, so see, like in the ratios column, like if we go to the next page, at 1500 rpm you can see 296 rpm, so you get the 300 rpm mark, and you get the capacity, first capacity as 65 kilowatt. Now 100 hp is 75 kilowatt. So paper mill application normally we select as safety factor 2 because the load is high. Okay, so high load, 75 into 2, so 150 kilowatt. What's the nearest one? So here, as you can see, 171 and 125. So you can give both of these options. Models will be 180 and 160. But what is the safety factor? 125 divided by 75 and 171 divided by 75. So that will be your safety factors. But as you can see, these are only the mechanical capacities. Here's the catch. It's not the thermal. So what's the thermal capacity? In every bigger size gearboxes, you need to look at two parameters. One is mechanical, the other is thermal. The thermal capacities are given, that is without fan, with fan cooling, with cooling coils, or with fan and cooling coils. So there are four stages. One is without fan, one is with fan, one is cooling coil, one is fan and cooling coil. So basically the thermal rating is also need to be checked. So for ratio between 3.38 to 5 for 1500 RPM, 160 and 180 have a very low thermal rating. It is 49 and 63 while your motor is 75 kilowatt. So the thermal rating should at least be, this is the thumb rule, the thermal rating should at least be 1.3 times. So if the motor is 75 kilowatt motor, then the mechanical you have selected is 125 kilowatt or 171 kilowatt. You will offer both the options, but the thermal rating is 49 and 63 only. So model number 160 and 180 are not feasible without fan. So let's check with fan. So with fan it is 109 and 143. That's a lot of improvement, you see. So fan cooling is very important in these bigger gearboxes, otherwise they will fail. Okay, so 109 kilowatt and 143 kilowatt are good enough. 1.3 times than 175 kilowatt, yes, yes. So this is okay. So what will be the answer? Let's just type the answer right now. Okay, suppose we go for the safety factor, 1.5 is enough for dryer application. Okay, so H1 because it is one stage. 160 model, yes, and the ratio is 5.06 is to 1. And what is the mounting? For mounting you have to go for the drawings. So let's go for the drawings. H1 drawings. Okay, here is the drawing. So this is the H1 series drawing, and the mounting positions are given over here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So client needs to select 1, 2, 3, 4, which type of mounting he needs. Normally they go for 1 or 2. 3 and 4 is very rarely used. Okay, so that is how a selection is done. It's a simple selection method. These are all selection are based on applications or type of safety factor you need to select. You can just go through this if you are at a client place, and with experience you won't even need this. Okay, so kilowatt capacity in mechanical as well as thermal, but there are some times which more than these two things are required, so that two are also mentioned. Let me show you those. As you can see in the initial pages of the catalog, here you are given the bearing life. So what is the bearing moment? This kilonewton meter for each and every size. Okay, so that if information is required, because the mounting application might be a vertical stirrer like this, so you need those details. For bending moment, for permissible overhang load. So like if the output shaft of the gearbox is having a big pinion and a girth gear system to drive a kiln or drive a drum, then you need to know what kilonewton overhang load each and every size of the gearbox takes at a different speed, output speed. So this, if client requires, this table is given over here, permissible overhang loads. Okay, and this is the formula for converting the overhang load from capacity of the gearbox. Okay, depending on the size of the sprocket, pulley, sheave, whatever is on the output side at a different K factor. So you'll read this, you'll understand this. Practically, you will get a better idea once you are in the field. This is the thrust capacity for axial thrust. It comes on the gearbox from outside. So axial thrust is important. If needed on output side, the standard bearing, we can use a thrust bearing housing. We can use an additional bearing housing. So the thrust power of the application, if it is high, you need to see these figures as well. Okay, then other factors here given are like the kilowatt to Newton meter. So for kilonewton power, you overhang load, you can even convert into power, and from power you can remove the overhang load. And similarly, you even if you want, you can have use into kilowatt to torque. So basically, what we use is something called a Ventex site. That is what I have researched and I've been using, that you have to type on Google, that is Vintech power, and just save this link. Every time in any place you just open this link, you put in like 100 HP, you put in like 300 RPM and Newton meters, you get 2373. That's it. And now you selected that kilowatt rating of the gearbox, you found out was 125, okay, of H1 160. 125 kilowatt at 300 RPM, then it gives 3978, while the requirement was 2300. So based on that, even if torque wise safety factor you consider, it is 3978 divided by 2300. So your gearbox is safe. Okay. So that is how your selection is done. So that is how we have selected the first gearbox H1. If the speed is more than required, and if they require like 100 rpm, so you have to do nothing else. You just need to go from H1 to H2, because ratio wise model will increase, so it becomes a two-stage gearbox. So H2 is standard. H2SF is hollow shaft. Let me write it down to help you understand. Okay, H2 is standard. H2SF means output is hollow. VH2 means it is vertical mounting. So the output and input both are perpendicular to the ground. So there are some stirrer applications which we do have that. Then SA means it is a stirrer duty, because in that case is output thrust housing is required to balance that axial thrust which comes on the output shaft. Then VH2 CT, this is basically for cooling tower application. They use parallel helical gearboxes, then we need to give this. Okay, so these are different forms of them. And if VH2, if their input is required with motor direct, we can mount the motor, then there can be a bell housing. So we can add an M and a bell housing. So a bell shape housing will be in the input with the PCD, that is pitch circle diameter of the motor flange, to match it and to hang it. So the motor will be hanging on top. So an image of that also I can show you in this catalog itself. That is the first page itself as that. Yeah. So here, as you can see, this image, this is a two-stage parallel helical with input motor bell housing. Input shaft is definitely still solid, but it gets coupled with the motor with using a pin bush coupling, and here the motor will be hanging on top. So the pulley or sprocket or anything at input is not required. And output, as you can see, this external bearing housing. So this is a cooling tower or aerator or SA type stirrer duty gearbox with a solid long output shaft. The material of the output shaft is also changed in this case because it is overhanging, and it is axial thrust, and it is having a more load on it than usual horizontal gearbox. And this is the hold back. Now, what is an holdback that we will learn further? Okay, so that is one vertical application you studied. So VH2M. Similarly, if it requires a ratio more than 25, suppose a ratio of 32, then it will become a VH3M. In three stage also same things are mentioned, same kilowatt rating, same mechanical safety factor, same safety factor you have to see in thermal. Thermal, mechanical, model naming is also very similar everywhere. In four stage, normally we don't give vertical, we give hollow output and standard. Okay, so the ratios, maximum ratio in that case is around 700 ratio. So you can go till a speed less than 2 RPM if required. Okay. Then B2. Now what is B2? B2 means it's a bevel helical gearbox. So the first stage is a bevel pair in each every case. If it is B2, it is one bevel pair and one parallel helical stage. B3, it is one bevel pair and two parallel helical stages. So that is how it works. Selection, everything is same. The only difference is in the mounting. It is perpendicular. Let me show you one image drawing catalog. Okay. Mm, yeah. See this, as you can see, it's a perpendicular gearbox. So it is basically B2. This one, as you can see in the image, B2 foot mount. So here you can see the internal arrangement. Let me zoom that for you because that is very necessary to understand the mounting. P1, P2, P3, P4 were very simple, but in this there is some catch. See, the bevel pair is on this side, on the left side from the input. Okay, so this will rotate, this will rotate, this rotates, and this rotates. So as you can see, the input and output shaft are rotating in opposite direction. The input shaft is in anti-clockwise direction, output shaft is on the clockwise direction. While in this 1A, if the bevel pair is on this side instead of this side, then it becomes same direction. So both are anti-clockwise. So P1, P1A, P2, P2A. That is how a rotation and mounting direction is given in bevel helical. So always remember, let us do an example of bevel helical to make it more clear. Okay, so we will do selection based on an application called inline shaft, same paper mills, and we'll take, no, let me take a material handling example. So like a material handling equipment, it's a small 20 HP motor, we need 30 RPM, and we need a holdback, and we need uh, selection to be done on that. Okay, material handling application, MHE. So now, first of all, 20 HP you will convert to 15 kilowatt. 30 RPM means ratio is around 52 or 47. What is available in catalog? As you can see in this page itself, 47, 52 both are available. Okay, so that you can do because what I did, motor kilowatt I assumed for 15 kilowatt at 1440 RPM divided by 30 RPM, so that gives me 50. Now holdback. Why you need a holdback? What is an holdback? That is another chapter which we will be discussing here. But let's first select the model, then we'll get back to the holdback part. Okay, so 15 kilowatt, 30 RPM, so we'll need around 50 ratio. H3, no, we are going for bevel. So let's go to B2. B2, no, 50 ratio, not there. 50 ratio, you can stop. Yeah, 47 RPM, 47 ratio and 52 ratio. You can see 32 RPM here and you can see 29 RPM here. So both are acceptable. So here the kilowatt rating, 15 kilowatts. So you'll be searching for something like 25 to 30 kilowatt in this case. Okay, with a normal heavy duty. So here it is, yeah, 180. And in this case also 180 is fine and 200 both. So let us select for 180 this one. So the answer will be B3 180 47.1. Position P1 or P1A, P2 or P2A. Okay, suppose P1. Now safety factor will be 26. 26.1. divided by 15. That will give you the safety factor. Thermal capacity, let's check thermal capacity. Thermal capacity is with cooling coil. No, we need to go to the next page, back page, so we can check the thermal. Yeah. So thermal capacity from ratio 14 to 95 for without fan for 180 is 48 kilowatt. So it is much within limit. Our is just 15 kilowatt, it is 48. So what do we learn? The high speed gearboxes where the ratios are low, the fan and other cooling options are required. As the ratio increases, the speed decreases, the heating of the gearbox decreases, and we don't require fan. So as you can see now, in this case, we do not require a fan. Okay, perfect. That is how a selection is done. This catalog basically has how many models? Let me show you. From this is B2, B1. These are all like models starting from 140. As it is Bewell. In this we don't have 125 here, but in helical we do have parallel helical. So you see the model starts at 125 to 710. So how you name these models? I have gone through the type, I have gone through the ratios, I have gone through the mounting, but type, size, how do you name this size? Let me show you in a drawing. Okay, so what two models we selected today? One was H1, let me write down here. H1 160 and the other was B3 180. Okay, so let us see these two models in this catalog drawings, how the size came into the picture. Okay, so first I'm opening is H1. Okay, these are the shaft dia, these are yeah, so here is the H1. See, this is the suppose top view. So this is the input shaft, this is the output shaft, and this distance from input to output is known as A. So A is your center distance in this case. So the center distance is the size of the gearbox. You can see unit size and A are same. But if it is two stage, suppose it was B3 180, let's go to B3 180. Because it's not always center distance from first shaft to the last shaft. It is the distance between the last shaft and the stage before that. Okay. So let's see B3. Yeah, so in this image, as you can see, in this image you can see that this input shaft and output shaft, you cannot measure the distance. It's almost B, but B is not the picture. We are just talking of A. What is A? The final stage distance from center to center. That is the name of the gearbox. So A is unit size is A, which is the final stage center to center distance, and that is 140, 140, 160, 160. Now another key here is the center height. Center height of any helical gearbox designed in this catalog is basically one size higher than the model. So if the model is B3 180, the center height of that model D will be 200. See, 180 D will be 200. Okay, so model to model, center height, center distance, center height. So this is how the naming came place from 140 to 710. Okay, and now let me show you what that hold back thing is. Okay, and even the bell housing page also available. And as you can see in this SF parts, wherever the output is hollow, there is an option of shrink disk. Now what a shrink disk is, this dotted part, that also I'll explain. These are all accessories. See, as you can see this back side, this is the what you call bell housing. It is motorized bell housing. Okay, so that motorized bell housing is basically used to mount the motor directly into the gearbox. So that is used in DWell also. So whatever you need, that is possible. This is the output thrust bearing housing for heavy duty stirrer applications and cooling tower applications, known as VH2SA and VH2CT. So SA and CT are basically additional parts which are added in the gearbox to help it manage the load on the output shaft, the axial thrust load, and the other loads. Okay. Then we come the shaft diameters. In shaft diameters, you need to be very specific. The ratio wise shaft diameter might change. Okay, so you need to understand from here. See, the weight what I'm talking about is not small here. For example, 200 size weight is 360, and for 450 gearbox it is around 3 tons, and about 700 size gearbox maybe more than 7-8 tons. Okay, so these are very heavy gearboxes. See, if the client needs output double shaft, input double shaft, everything is possible. Okay, pricing is just added to it. Now let us talk about that accessories, mainly shrink disc, hold back, and torque arm. So this is the first one, shrink disc. Shrink disc is basically always there in a hollow shaft mounted gearbox where the output hole is with a keyway or without a keyway. So if it's without the keyway, then the shrink disc can be placed. So what does the shrink disc do? It actually holds the shaft, and it is when tightened, the shaft do not require a keyway to hold another shaft inside it. Okay, the hollow shaft. See in this image, the hole is there, but there is no key. So how it will hold the machine shaft in this output hole? By the shrink disc. When you put the shaft inside and then you tighten the screws, this disc will shrink. It will push the output hollow shaft in the inside direction from all the sides. So that will hold the output shaft of the machine inside this hole. Okay, this is possible. This is not a joke. Actually, the output shaft is a soft material. It is an EN8 or EN9 soft material. It is not hardened. All the other parts of the gearbox's internals are hardened and ground, but output shaft is a soft material. So it can shrink. So that shrinking effect is given, and that locks the output shaft in this hole. So that gives two benefits. One, the pressure or the holding capacity is from all ends. So it helps in giving better torque. And secondly, there is no keyway. So there is no point of maintenance. The keyway won't get damaged. And moreover, in this case, the shrink disc, you can easily unlock and lock and remove the output shaft. Okay, so it doesn't get fit inside. So these are all points of installation mentioned over here, and you just need to remember them. Torque arm is basically when that shaft mounted gearbox is mounted, so it will rotate along with the shaft. So how can you hold it? So we put an extra accessory like this. It's called a torque arm. It basically holds it. Okay. Then there is a cooling coil. Cooling coil is basically a coil inside the gearbox. You can see input and output in this image. So input and output both is having a copper tube inside with a curl. There is like a curling copper tube inside, which gives it a water inlet and outlet. So the oil will remain cooled. You can put water in and out. Okay, from that. So the water will not get mixed with the lubricant, but it will cool it off by getting in touch. So see inside image, if you can see online, I'll just show you what's a cooling coil. It's not like this. Basically inside it's just the coil. If you can see somewhere, cooling coil. Which is hard to find online because it is something that is internal. Okay, but it's basically a copper tubing. Okay, in this image, if you can see this piping inside, not from places to places, it's just at the bottom of the gearbox just to make sure it comes in contact with the hot oil and it cools it down. Okay, so that is a cooling coil. So it will be always at the bottom of the gearbox, as you can see here. Okay, inlet and outlet for water. It is just for water. And now what's a holdback? See, holdback is basically a type of a bearing, but it's a bearing which has, instead of balls or rolls, it has sprags. Okay. See, holdback device. In this device, the key is the sprags inside. It looks like a bearing, right? But these sprags are not uniform. They are in a shape as such, they won't rotate in one direction and rotate in other. See, if this inner ring, you can see, if it is rotating in this direction, then this sprag will be released. So you can rotate. So it will stop its rotation. So holdback will make sure the shaft will rotate only in one direction and not in the other direction. A bearing is something which allows it to rotate in both the directions, while a holdback allows it to rotate in only one direction. It's like a locking device. It locks its motion in the other direction. So this holdback is the locking device. Okay. So holdback is also known as reverse holdback. So it doesn't let the gearbox drive in a reverse direction. Okay, so reverse holdback gearbox is basically a gearbox with a holdback on it. So if I have an image of a gearbox with a holdback mounted, let me show you. Yeah, this image is perfect. If you can open this one, then I can show you perfectly. See, as you can see, this blue thing is a holdback which is mounted on the conveyor belt. And the conveyor belt is a slant conveyor belt. Suppose coal is falling on this, and if the coal is going and like suppose the electricity goes, then the coal will keep falling and it will not come back. Okay, so because it will keep on going, you need to put an hold back which allows it to stop. Otherwise it will fall in the reverse direction when the uh, light goes or when the electricity or the machine stops. Okay, so instead of this separate hold back, what do? They put it in the gearbox. So this one is mounted in the gearbox, the hold back on the shaft of the gearbox, so you don't need to put it separately. So this is the gearbox separate and holdback separate, and this is the gearbox with holdback. So these two items you don't need to purchase separately. This is a gearbox with holdback which you can purchase as a single product. Okay, so holdbacks are this very important device which allows the gearbox shaft to rotate only in one direction, not in the other direction. Okay, that is the benefit of an holdback. So that holdback is clear. Then see where the holdback will be located in each and every model. It is shown in the images. You can see this holdback, that black part. Okay, so you can learn that the moment of inertia, the exact ratios of each and every model is given here. So like even though ratio is 5.06, but model to model it varies a bit depending on the cutter which the company has. Okay, so you need to know the precise ratio. You can refer here. Then you even refer it for the weight. What is the weight of each and every model? The oil quantity required inside. Okay, so everything is given over here. So this is the oil type of oil, 320 grade, what quantity for each and every mounting. Everything is given over here. Okay, what are the approved lubricants? Everything is mentioned over here. Okay, so this completes this catalog. This is known as the H and the B series. This is the standard premium transmission helical series, and we have to push this series in the market mainly. Why you need to go to the other series, I'll let you know. In this series, the models and the pricing and the drawings, everything is given till size 450. Okay, so size 500 and above, you have a different catalog called heavy helical units. So heavy helical units are basically above 500 size, so they will be weighing around 2 tons plus. So their capacity and everything is given over here the same way, the same selection, same drawings, everything same, nothing new. Only thing here you need to see is the models. The model is 22, 23, 25, 28, 32. These models are basically in inches. So if you have confusion, you can just see the model 320, 32. So you just multiply it by 25.6. So 32 into 25.6 gives you 819. So it is approximately 800 size gearbox. So in H7 ratio, it is 2 stage. So it is H2 800. That is basically H2 32. Okay. So this is the catalog and you just need to see this. Same way 32 800 means what? The output final stage distance is how much? Let me show you. It's not mentioned over here, that measurement is not given, but as you can see the 900 is the center height, so one stage higher is the center height. Okay, center distance is not given, the first to last stage distance is only given. Okay, so this clears these two catalogs, that is the HNB helical series and the heavy duty helical series for sizes above 500 to 800, and even above 800 if is required we can do. Okay, in these cases, these are all standard cast iron body casings, split casings, as you can see in this image. These are split casings. But if you require a fabricated casing to match a existing gearbox of Shanti make, Elecon make, or any other Flender make, or any Chinese make, we can manufacture with a small price rise, but it can be made in a fabricated casing as well. Okay, cast steel we call it. Okay, fab case. So these two catalogs are done. So I'll just continue in the next session for the other sizes and other catalogs. So that is the part one done.